I'm Anthony, X Hills Angel member, and I'm chatting with Stacks.
Welcome to this episode of Chatting with Stacks. I'm your host, Bill Stacks, and today I got Anthony.
Like he was trying to. I don't know if he was succeeded, but I know he was trying to after they raided some of the clubhouses.
You would think that when they raid clubhouses or things like that, they destroy that type of stuff, right?
No, they still have. I know it. From what I understand, there's a brother's bike on display at the FBI headquarters
What?
that they got from a raid of some sort.
That's crazy. Now, was there any raids or anything happen while you were a part of the club?
None that I was a part of, but there were raids that happened. Like it didn't happen, like say at my clubhouse or whatever. You know what I mean? It didn't happen at my house.
There was no drama there when you were a part of the club or anything at the clubhouse?
There was always drama.
What
There's
about
always drama.
anything you could talk about?
Well, I mean, what I could talk about is the drama I'm having now that I'm out of the club.
Walk me through the day that they come to you and you got to give them the patch.
Well, I had an incident that I was told I had to take care of, and they were taking my patch for certain stuff. They weren't exactly specifically clear on why they were taking my patch and putting it in a box. I was being disciplined. I had to take care of certain things like paying back money that I owed. I had borrowed X amount of money. I had so much money. I had so much money that I was able to get together out of checks, whatever, to pay back what I owed. And then I was under the impression once I did pay back all the money that I owed that I would get my patch back. You know what I mean? And I would no longer be in a box. So that's when I had ended up borrowing the money from a member of a coalition, a brother from a coalition club. I borrowed the money from him. I didn't borrow it from his charter. You know what I mean? I didn't go to the charter and try to push him around or anything. Like he let me borrow the money so that I could, pay back what I owed. And then was paying him back.
And then what? He told somebody.
Well, he didn't tell anybody. I was texting him, and another brother was working for him and happened to was looking over his shoulder and seeing the text messages and tried to get him to send the text messages, but he wouldn't. And then the brother brought it to the table, and that's what I ended up getting kicked out for.
So you tried to
money.
Borrow, or did he let you borrow the money?
He let me borrow the money.
So you took that money and paid back the other guys that you owed.
The chart, yeah.
Yeah, so now you owe this other guy, and it has nothing to do with anybody.
Right.
And they brung you to the table for that, and walk me through the day you get that call and you walk in.
So I go up because it was our usual time of meeting during the week, and we go, and they called me in, and they said,
is your patch still in the box?
Yeah, it was still in a box. And I was thinking I was going to get it back that day. Instead, they kicked me out that day. They said they came to a vote and decided that that I lied, and they were kicking me out.
What did you lie about, though?
They said I lied about borrowing the money from the coalition. Like, basically, they asked if I borrowed it from the coalition club. I said, no, I didn't borrow it from the coalition club. But I didn't say who I borrowed it from. I didn't say I borrowed it from anybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they said, well, that's basically beating around the bush. You're lying. You did borrow it from a coalition. You borrowed it from a coalition brother. But that's not what they had asked. You know what I mean? It was like a twisting of the thing. You know what I mean?
Because you didn't go to the club as a whole and say, let me borrow this money. You were talking to this guy, one of your friends, right?
Yeah, that was in one of the other coalition clubs.
Damn. Do you wish you would have borrowed the money from someone else?
I tried borrowing it from brothers in my charter. No one would let me borrow the money.
Imagine that, right?
Yeah.
Your own brothers. Won't let you borrow money to pay back.
And then they said that afterwards. They said, well, why didn't you come to one of us? But I wasn't going to I wasn't going to name any names of who I asked, you know what I mean, at the table, because I'm not a rat, you know what I mean?
It's, I don't know. It's just weird. So what happens? Do you just say okay and then?
I mean, I wasn't just okay. I said it was bullshit, whatever, and I had to get of them all my member gear back.
So you gave them everything, and what about the tattoos?
The tattoos I was supposed to take care of, like I was supposed to get them covered or whatever.
And they're huge. Your tattoos are huge.
Yeah, I did some work. I sat in the chair for like 8 hours and got as much as I could without as much as I could deal with. And then I sent pictures and said, "This is what I got. If this isn't enough, come get me."
So
Or
did
was
you
sitting
get?
in a chair.
Yeah, that's a lot to get done.
Yeah, because I mean, I had my forearm, my hand, both sides of my head, my eyebrows.
But you got the eyebrows and the sides of your head done,
Well,
and
I didn't get rid of one. This one I kept because they didn't really like it anyways. So I said, "Kid, I wasn't covering it." This one I covered this for the most part. It still says Nomads on my head, and then I still have probably 3/4 of this death head over here. I just blacked out the face, and then my hand, you can see it's, you know what I mean. You can see it's still technically basically a death head, but just dude added some flowers or whatever.
do you regret getting the tattoos?
I don't regret. I don't regret getting the tattoos. I don't regret joining the club. You know what I mean? I had a great time in the club. I regret trusting certain individuals that I thought were really my brothers, that said that they'd never let me get kicked out. They'd give me the option to leave before putting me out.
Now, are you out good or out bad?
No, I'm out bad
Why are you out bad?
because I lied about borrowing that money.
So these guys this is your whole life, right? At one
Yeah,
point, you're with these guys every day, and then all of a sudden, boom, no contact. What's
yeah,
that like?
sucks. It sucks that all of a sudden, like, no one really talks to you. I mean, there were a few brothers here and there that talked to me. You know, there were certain brothers, you know, out west that still talk to me, down south that still talk to me. But and 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 for a little bit, the Sarge from my charter had stayed in touch with me, but because I still had, you know what I mean, they knew I still had member gear left, you know, because I never stayed in one spot. Like I lived here, I lived there, you know what I mean? Like I lived at my mom's, I lived with my ex-wife, you know what I mean? I lived with a girlfriend, you know what I mean? So I had shit everywhere, you know. And when I found, I'd go to bring it to him. And then there was one time last year I was trying to meet up with him, and he started being a dick. You know what I mean? He was like, "This is enough, Anthony, da da da, this and that." Started calling me names and saying I was the one guy, he was the one guy that I had it good with, that, you know what I mean, that protected me or whatever in the club or whatever he wanted to say. I ended up calling him out, and then dude been ducking me ever since. Last
Is there
week, last Thursday was the last time I called him out. Actually, I called him out. I said, "Hey, mother," because I gave him everything. I finally gave him everything last year. I put it in a bag just before I lost my license, because I lost my license for a year. I put it in a bag. I dropped it off at one of the brothers' works because he wasn't coming to get it, because he said he was coming to get it. Never came to get it. And then last Thursday, I wasn't doing nothing, and there were a couple times he sent me texts or whatever saying he was watching me, whatever, see me riding my Huffy or whatever, but didn't stop to say hi or whatever. And I hit him up, and he was supposed to meet me. He said he was gonna be at such and such a place. I told him I was a 5-10 minute walk over the bridge. You know what I mean? Because I gotta walk everywhere. I ain't got no license. You know what I mean? He's got a truck, whatever. He said he was gonna meet me, and I said, "All right, well, let me know. I'm only 5-10 minutes away." He said, "All right, start walking." So I started walking across the bridge. Went over there. I sat in Nashua for an hour and a half waiting for this dude to show up. Never showed up. My phone started dying, so I sent him a text, said, "Hey, I gotta go home and charge my phone before it dies. You know what I mean? If you're gonna show up." Went home, charged it, and I got a text that he was at a restaurant over the bridge. So I said, all right, I'm on my way. I had to charge my phone. I'm on my way. Maybe 5 minutes before I get there, he sends me a picture that he's in the parking lot in the messenger. I get there, he's gone. I look around, nowhere to be found. I took a picture, sent it to him. So where you at?
So it's like you guys are playing tag, right?
He's sergeant at arms. He's filthy few. Why'd he leave?
Did you ever try to transfer? Did anyone from any other charter like raise their hand for you?
Well, I was in the process of trying just before I got booted. And
But you can't do that, right? Like once your charter, if you fuck up in your charter, you have to get approved to go somewhere else, right?
Right. Yeah. And the stipulation was I had to get my patch out of the box and then I could transfer.
So if you would have
I never got it back.
If you would have got the money from someone else.
Right.
So what happened with your bike? Did they want to take your bike?
No, I still got my bike.
So how do you lose your license?
For reckless driving and whatnot on the bike, splitting lanes at high speeds.
Because you brung it back from California, right?